Where am I wrong?
Good morning. What's been misreported so far is we're not offering an adversity score alongside the SAT that's personal to a student. We're offering general background information, which you've made some points about, but let's just say what we're doing. The only individual thing is the SAT score. It does not change. But what we offer alongside of it to universities is some general information about a student's school and about a student's neighborhood. But that would be the same for all students in that school or all students in that neighborhood. It's how their neighborhood and school stack up. And what it does, it tries to say, just as you say, an SAT score only shows so much. But when you put it together with the context in which someone has emerged, you can identify, you have a more chance to see students who have scored remarkably well in very demanding circumstances. To give you one example, Michael, and then we can talk more broadly. There's a young woman in Mississippi, a partner school just admitted her, where her SAT score is roughly average to the other students. But when they looked at her SAT score in the context of other students in that high school, they saw she scored 400 points higher than any other student there. They saw through the context dashboard that she lives in a community rife with poverty and a school that lacks a lot of advanced learning opportunities. And they saw that she was extraordinary, that she had accomplished so much with less, that she was so resourceful. We're only providing general context information that is not about student-specific data in order to allow admissions officers to more readily see students who defy the odds. To be very clear, I loved your statement about all the things that general information cannot see. And that's why an application ought to, as you say, have an interview, have an essay. I really want to be clear we're not displacing those things. That would be crazy.
Is it the role, though, of the College Board to be involved in this issue? Don't the applications already afford opportunity for students to tell their story? See, my real problem is that in the end, and I recognize it might not be student-specific, but it's still a numerical value that will be looked at in the context of their verbal and math score.
What's cool is that the application process that you care about remains intact. So there'll be that general background. There'll be all that the student provides, which is not being changed, about their individual situation that you care about. But let's talk about why we might do that, why it might be decent to do that. Right now, as you may know, colleges get school profiles from schools, so they try to get a sense of the school that the student's coming from. But admissions officers can only visit so many schools, and those school profiles are of very uneven quality. And their sense of the neighborhoods kids grow up in is very uneven, as you might guess. So all this is offering is some general background in which to look at the student's specific application.
Okay.
If we don't do this in candor, students from disadvantaged backgrounds are at a huge disadvantage because the school may or not know anything about their school or their neighborhood.
How about my observation that I'll rephrase, it paints with a broad brush per neighborhood. You know, let's call it out, because I've paid close attention to the rollout of this and some of the criticism, and you know that a criticism you'll often hear is, what about the white student from a working class family whose parent might be opioid addicted, whose parent might be an alcoholic? You know, the broad brush look at the neighborhood might not reveal what's going on behind that individual closed door.
You know, Michael, I got to say, one reason I'm moved to be here and feel moved to keep talking to you and discuss these arguments is I think that's exactly the kind of kid who will finally be seen. If you look at the broad change here, moving beyond a narrow definition, let's say, of race to a broader definition of students who face demand and adversity in rural America, which is what you're taught, where that kind of life is concentrated today, where the opioid crisis is most intense. The environmental context dashboard is going to bring to light far more rural students, many of whom are white, but who are in high schools without advanced learning opportunities. They can't show as many AP scores. They don't have a situation with as much resource at home or in the neighborhood. And they're often overlooked because admissions officers are not as familiar with these places. And admissions officers admitting that ask the College Board, hey, give us some general background information so that when we look at a student's personal application, specific individuality, we can then combine them both, as you say must be done. I just want to be super clear. This is something fairly humble. Nothing should replace the individual testimony of a student as to their life circumstance. But we can't utterly rely on that to explain
I'm still caught up. I'm still
Please.
caught up on the question of why is this the role of the College Board who administer the test? And so here's my final question. Is this born of concern that there will soon be a ban on affirmative action, and you're trying to get ahead of that curve? You get the final word.
No, you've made thoughtful arguments, to be clear. And I think the reason why we've taken this on is that we have the relationships with admissions officers so they trust us to provide general, reliable information rather than the scatter of information they receive today. And in candor, we felt that there are so many remarkable young people that the College Board could not look aside and just offer the SAT score without this general context, because the SAT score alone might mislead you, it might blind you to the remarkable resourcefulness of a student who may not score as high, but has shown remarkable power. If there's another group that can do this beautifully, I'm all for it. It's a free tool. We gain nothing from it. Just to be clear, we're not selling this. It can be used for SAT or ACT. We're really doing this to try to open up and see new talent.
David, when you get back to the office, do not open my file.
I never have opened a file, but great to see you.